Well, hello once again. This is, in fact, the Midnight Skeptic, as you all know. This broadcast, radio and worldwide, kpca.fm and locally 103.3 FM, will go out this coming Sunday at the usual time, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is the midnight on the East Coast. For all my East Coast watchers and listeners out there, you can watch me on YouTube at any time, though. This is being recorded on Thursday, 4/24, for your enjoyment and edification. This rant on the last week of April will contain a rather lengthy rant with my take on the orange sociopathic bloat bag and his authoritarian leanings, which are extensive, by the way. More than leaning, a full-blown descent into right-wing meanness and cruelty. I'm trying to, every time I mention Republican politicians or the Republican Party in general, I try to append the terms hateful, mean, and cruel. And they are. And one of my relatives, who is a Republican, a thoughtful, thinking, honest Republican, says the GOP doesn't hate trans. He is wrong. They do, as witnessed all of the hundreds of anti-trans bills trying to be passed through Republican-controlled states. There is hate behind that. There is no doubt in my mind. But to reiterate again what I said last week, there are some Republicans, my relative included, that are not full of hate and cruelty. He doesn't have a cruel bone in his body, but he has associated himself with this hateful cult. So, there. Okay, like Putin in Russia, like Kim Jong-un of North Korea, that guy in El Salvador, I forget what his name is, brain freeze. His background is originally Ethiopian. And like Viktor Orban, the dictator of Hungary, the bronzed buffoon, wants to be perceived as a strong man, a tough guy, a dude to be reckoned with. Well, the mission of the Midnight Skeptic, as I've said this before, the mission by my doing this show is, in my own small way, and believe me, this radio show is a small way, to rid this country of all followers, worshipers, sycophants of him, and the GOP MAGA heads, right-wingers, extremist conservatives, and Christians who they think God sent the orange sociopathic bloat bag to rule over us. Thank you, Jesus, for sending him to save us. I guess Jesus wasn't good enough for them. He's more than I want to believe in. Okay, here is the play in music. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, that's my playing music, and for those of you who are a bit concerned about my health, I was in the ICU at Kaiser Permanente here in Santa Fe all last week. My son drove me down to the ER at his insistence. I didn't think I was that bad, but I was. And they checked me right in, and I have pneumonia in a pocket of it in my right lung. And they don't know how I picked it up or what the exact strain of the pneumonia is, but I'm on antibiotics, and I got excellent treatment in the ICU. And here's a health note. I think, in my humble opinion, that Kaiser Permanente should be the model for a national health service. Okay, now I've heard some gripes about wait times and blah, blah, blah about Kaiser, but I've had no problems with them at all. And I just really commend the excellent nursing staff down there and the doctors, by the way. The doctor that was taking care of me the whole time down there was, she's her background is Russian, Shinsen, Ami, Ammi Shinsen, and her middle name is this long Russian name, ending in Skaya, but she was great. She's relatively young. She looked to me to be about 32, but excellent work. Thank you all down at Kaiser Permanente. Okay, time for shout-outs. And the first couple of them I'm written down on my notes so I can remember their names and things, but the rest of it will be off the top of my head. Okay. Tony and Christine Lombardi and the Lombardi Wines. They make an excellent Chardonnay and a Pinot Noir. Just the two. That's their specialty. If you get a chance to taste their wines at some wine tasting, please do. Okay, Mickey Huff of Project Censored. Go online and sign up for their newsletter. And the State of the Free Press 2025, an annual book, is out now, back from the printer. And he has help. He's back at Ithaca College now as a head of some news and journalism department. I'm not quite sure what it is. And he has help from Shay Lee Voidal. And then he has help on the West Coast here from Andy Lee Roth and Nolan Higdon, who are history professors at UC Santa Cruz. Okay. John Crowley at the Aquas Cafe. They're at 4th and H here in Petaluma. And they serve light fare, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think they close at 8 o'clock. And John Crowley is the organizer / mentor of various groups, one of which is Drinks with Shrinks. He hosts them about 2 or 3 times a year, and he gets a good turnout for them. And I've had some very interesting conversations with some shrinks down there. And ethnic dinners he holds, poetry readings, book signings, all of that kind of stuff. You can find it at Aquus, AQUS Cafe. Tom Gaffey, the mentor and godfather of the alternative teen set here in Petaluma. Okay, Nariman. Boy, we're going to have to get together for a bit of wine sipping very soon. It's been way, way too long, and my health had something to do with it going back a couple of years, but I'd like to get together with you again. Sahar Garai. Maybe, Nariman, you and I can do it there at the La Dolce Vita Wine Lounge downtown here in Petaluma, owned by Sahar Garai. Rabbi Ted Feldman, who is a retired rabbi at B'nai Israel. My late wife and I used to go down there for his edification night classes about, Jewish theology, the founding of Israel, all of the things that went into the conflicts that we're seeing over there now. Really nice guy, fair in his presentation. Okay, I met Art Kuznets through there. Okay, Dave Takach. I'll be calling you after I get done with this show. He's up in Sacramento, and Kristen Burke up in Sacramento, the daughter of Kevin and Lori, my good friends here in Petaluma. Okay, now, can I do this? Can I pull this off the top of my head? Tim Conrad, Rich and Kathy Berger over in Sebastopol, Dennis and Megan in Tiburon, Tom and Nancy. Thank you, Tom, for toting me around to my doctor appointment. Thanks again. His wife, Nancy, is the world's finest baker of cookies, brownies, and all things that I probably shouldn't eat. Okay, down in San Francisco, Yvonne and Rick. Over in Pacifica, Stan and Kathy. Stan, retired city attorney of Daly City. Further on down the peninsula to the Valley in L.A., Aunt Jackie and her daughter Samantha, kindergarten teacher, and happy birthday, her little boy David. And Melanie, her other daughter, sister of Samantha. I'm not quite sure where Melanie is living now, but a good person. Over to Arizona, in specifically the Santan Valley. My brother Brandon and Mina, hope to see you guys this summer. And Andrea, their daughter, my niece, excellent nurse, her husband Tim, retired Marine, and booyah, and their 3 little boys. And Arkansas, Shannon Reed. Florida, Nelson and Alice Lydell in Sarasota. Nelson, retired United States Public Health Service officer. And Alice, retired Public Health Service librarian. I guess that's how they met. Over on the east coast of one of the beach towns in East Florida, Amelia Beamer. Go on YouTube and catch her presentation of Locus, L-O-C-U-S, magazine, and what books they are reviewing for the month's issue. The 3 genres are horror, science fiction, and fantasy. And she herself is a novelist, editor, and a mentor to budding writers, budding novelists, of which I consider myself one. Up to Raleigh-Durham area, Dr. David Rubin, the absolute finest lung doctor the world has ever seen. He is retired now, but he researched when I roomed with him back in the 70s endothelial cells inside those little alveolar pockets inside the lungs. He wanted to know, and the world wanted to know, what sort of enzymes they secrete. I need a sip. Iced tea, iced tea, iced tea. Gold Peak iced tea. Okay, his wife Vicky has already moved to Chicago, where his daughters are, and he'll be moving there as soon as his youngest daughter gives birth, sometime in May. Okay, up the coast to Long Island. Geraldine Goldfinger, my late wife's best friend, way back over the east to the west coast, and up Highway 108 to the foothills to Sonora. Robert Finnegan, I hope you're recovering from your fall. Robert and Bob and Sandy Fisher and their two kids, Brad and Martha. Sorry I won't be making it up there soon. Maybe end of May, maybe early June, whatever. I'll be there to say hi. Darrell Larson, Judy May, Kathy Francis, Lynn Quayle, who splits her time between Manhattan and Sonora. Boy, is that a contrast in lifestyles or what? Okay, further on up Highway 108, John Gleason and his two daughters, Jennifer and Tiffany. Tiffany, get better. She's living in Colorado now. And then further on down to the land of Claudia Scheinbaum, Mexico City, Rosie Lopez Negrete, and message me on Facebook, Rosie, to see if your opinion of Claudia Scheinbaum has changed for the better. She's not a communist. I like Claudia because she stands up to the orange sociopathic bloat bag, and she's an environmentalist. Good for her. I think she has her PhD in some sort of environmental science plus economics. She is too intelligent to even be associating with the orange sociopathic bloat bag. Okay, I think I got the shout outs without forgetting anybody. So, to the meat of the show. After another sip. Ah, boy, this ranting, it really dries the throat out. Okay. I promised all my listeners and viewers that I would start out every show with some sort of good news or a good quote. I've usually succeeded, not always. Okay. A good quote. The deepest sin against the human mind is to believe things without evidence. And who said that? Aldous Huxley. More good news. Fionn Ferreira, Ferreira, Fionn, capital Ferreira. He's only 18, and he's from Ireland, and he's an inventor. He developed a system using ferrofluid. I'm not quite sure what that is. I'm not truly a science major. I mean, I'm somewhat knowledgeable, but I have not heard of this. ferrofluid to remove microplastics from water. He won the 2019 Google Science Fair Grand Prize. Boy, good for him. Good for Irish education. And the technology is now being scaled up. Okay, I hope it really works. We need to get rid of those microplastics out of the water. They're ending up in our brains and other organs. They may contribute to dementia and Alzheimer's. Okay, more good news. Dr. Norman Spack, capital S-P-A-C-K, he is the famous endocrinologist who established the first pediatric gender clinic in the United States at Boston's Children's Hospital. Chloe was his first patient, no last names. She suffered a trauma because of a sexual assault by a neighbor boy. Her parents brought her in because she kept saying, I want to be a boy. And I'm not sure from the article that I read how old she was when they brought her in. But they saw Dr. Norman Spack, S-P-A-C-K, and he determined that it was not true gender dysphoria as outlined by the symptoms in the diagnostic and statistical manual, the DSM, which all psychologists and psychiatrists use as an aid to diagnosing various ailments. Okay, Spack established the first GIMS, G-E-M-S, Gender Management Services, in February of 2007. The DSM-5 was extensively revised in around that time, and it came out in 2013. It's the psychology/psychiatry Bible. If you go into C1, you'll always see this on their bookshelf. And it was modeled after a Dutch system of diagnostics. Okay, there's an organization, AGIR, Adolescent Gender Identity Research Group. Now, I haven't looked that up, but it sounds like something we need more of here in the U.S. to kind of counteract the hateful Republican lawmakers who are just motivated by their religion and hatred of the trans community. Okay. I listed this under bad news, and it is. If you're a MAGA head, a worshiper of the orange sociopathic bloat bag, or an evangelical Christian fundamentalist, you can stop listening now, because I will be putting you down right and left. And the Midnight Skeptic, as I said in my announcement for this show on my Facebook page, the Midnight Skeptic will go on a rather long rant, but honest, a truthful and honest assessment of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. It will contain mostly facts, but a great deal of my opinion from my psychological studies back in college. I got my MA, and it's kind of an embarrassment for me to admit that because it's just another paper in my folder. I've not done anything useful with it. Well, maybe until now, in my later years, but my intent when I went for it at John F. Kennedy University was to get my master's and then start applying for PhD programs. I would not have gotten into Cal or Stanford. There were a few, dare I say, new age, fly-by-night PhD programs if you wanted to be a therapist. We got one here in Petaluma. I won't mention its name, but they're still going strong as far as I know. Well, I don't know how strong they're going. They do have a presence here in Petaluma. Okay. I'm off my notes. Okay. I'm not qualified to comment on the orange sociopathic bloat bag's origins or how he got to be the way he is, but he is a diagnosed sociopath. His niece, Mary Trump, on many interviews, has said as much. She's a PhD clinical psychologist in private practice, in addition to other things she does, in New York, and has taught graduate courses in psychopathology. My take is he is a sad and lonely man. He has, throughout his life, missed out on love, both from his dad and family and any real girlfriends. He knows deep inside that nobody really likes him, and he attempts to fill his emotional voids with power over others. Like the other dictators I mentioned in the opening introduction, they want, as does he, total loyalty from his sycophants. Sycophants tend to gravitate to powerful men. That's why he has the cabinet of sycophants that he does. I will mention them kind of collectively a bit later in the show. Oh, it's coming up like now. Okay, I watched a cabinet meeting on television he held 2 weeks ago. It was a sickening display of so-called adults bending over backwards to heap praise on him. He sat there with an enigmatic semi-smile on his face, not a happy smile, not really satisfied, just basking in what he feels is his rightful dues. How could he not, with his limited intelligence, realize pure sycophancy? Everybody, not a MAGA head, is surely laughing behind his back. Jon Stewart on The Daily Show, Stephen Colbert, and other late-night comics are laughing at him behind his back, maybe not so much behind his back. And Newsweek, the magazine, calls the cabinet meeting Trump's circus of sycophants, quote unquote. The New Yorker's article, quote, how Trump worship took hold in Washington, unquote. Whew, deep breath. Yahoo calls the meeting gross and cringeworthy. Right on. Anybody from the outside and not a MAGA head looking at this display would be cringed. Oh, why are these so-called grown-up adult politicians be doing this to debase themselves? The Guardian says sycophancy and toadying, their words, are de rigueur in Trump's court. This is what they say. This is how the disgraced, once respected U.S. of A. is being governed. Really? Seriously? We are. Other nations are both laughing at us and shaking their heads in disbelief that there were enough people in this country, just barely enough, a plurality, to get this orange sociopathic bloat bag into our presidency. None of our allies trust us anymore. Our intelligence services are being run by loyalists of Clown Trump. Boy, my throat is drying out. I need another sip of iced tea. Loyalists of Clown Trump. Loyalty is everything. Competence is nothing to him. Kristi Noem, Botox lips as head of Homeland Security, who had her purse stolen with $3,000 and various IDs in it. Are we secure? And maybe the worst of the worst, Pete Hegseth, head of the Pentagon. Oh, gosh. I'm sure all of those 2, 3, 4-star generals really respect him down deep. I'm being sarcastic. An overturning of the world order has taken place. The U.S. used to be the leader of the free world, so-called. The EU, European Union, and NATO used to be more or less dependent on our military and our economy to be a bulwark against authoritarian, right-wing, and communist countries, Russia, Hungary, China. We used to just call them communist China as opposed to nationalist China, the Taiwan, North Korea, and who's another right-wing thing? Well, El Salvador now, and Cuba. An aside here. I wish that we would just give recognition to the government of Cuba, establish relations with them. They're not a danger to us anymore. They're not trying to spread communism all over the place, which, in some form might even be a kind of a good thing for the poorer people in Latin America. So I'm sure that Putin has some major dirt on the orange sociopathic bloat bag. That's why he seems to be calling the shots for the bronzed buffoon. Okay, I listed this under good and bad news. How much time do I have? Okay. One good thing, as I explained on last week's show, that I am still a registered Republican, both out of, laziness, honestly. And I registered as a Republican when I was in the Navy back in 1964, when I turned 21 and could register. You had to be 21 back then. Richard Nixon lowered the voting age to 18, but I just didn't re-register. And like I said on last week's show, if there were a real political party of democratic socialists, I would give strong inclinations to registering as one of them. Go Bernie! Go Andrea Ocasio-Cortez. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I sort of align myself with their feelings politically. Okay. I was going to say one good thing is I do get occasional mail from the Republican National Committee and from, I just got 2 of them this week from Turning Point USA and the Heritage Foundation. Okay. And they're begging for money, of course, and Democrats do it too. I usually toss their junk mail in the recycle pile. But letting me know where the hate and cruelty in GOP politicians is rearing their ugly heads in government. GOP controls state houses and right-wing 501c3 organizations and their addresses. The last 2 I got from Turning Point USA and the Heritage Foundation. Turning Point, advocates for conservative causes on high school, college, and university campuses. It was founded in 2012 by Charlie the Creep Kirk and Bill Montgomery. I don't know who Bill Montgomery is. He's a Republican. But Charlie Kirk, I see him around on TV, and he did a podcast with Governor Newsom, which I think on the part of Governor Newsom might have been a mistake because Governor Newsom was manipulated, sort of, into admitting that on the transgender athletes issue, that fairness is, I forget his exact quote, but fairness is everything. And I'm agreed with that, and I've given my opinion on trans women athletes. And I won't go into that now, but yes, who could be against fairness? Okay, onward. Okay, it was founded in 2012 by Charlie Kirk and blah, blah. In other words, they are attempting to indoctrinate young students. Now, on last week's show, I said that the verb indoctrinate is a transitive verb for all you grammarians out there. And as such, it has to have an object or an object phrase that indicates what the subject is indoctrinating someone into. Simple grammar. MAGAs and Republicans in general are just too stupid to know this. They only want to use indoctrinate as a pejorative against public schools and teachers. Our schools are indoctrinating our kids. Okay. Against teachers, just like they seized upon woke to twist that term into a hate-filled term to use against Democrats and liberals. Get the libs! Okay. And I went into woke's origins on last week's show as used by the black folk singer Leadbelly in his, after he wrote the song The Scottsboro Boys. I won't go into all of that again, but his use of it meant that just be careful. Don't draw attention to yourselves, especially to Southern sheriffs, and keep a low profile. That's all that woke meant when he said, "You boys best stay woke now," as he was leaving their cell after a visit. Okay. I'm off my notes. Leadbelly. And this is back in the early 30s. But to right-wing conservatives, indoctrinating youth into their belief systems is okay. Sunday school is okay. You can't tell me that's not indoctrinating and brainwashing our young kids. Sunday school. That should be outlawed and defunded. Okay. The Heritage Foundation's letter that I got, first of all, they were asking for money. And in the letter that went along with the begging for money, they referred to, quote, America's healthcare nightmare. It was founded in 1973 as a conservative think tank on February of 1973 by Paul Weyrich, who was a GOP operative, Edward Fuellner, a congressional aide, Republican, of course, and Joseph Coors, the grandson of Joseph Coors, a right-wing billionaire brewer. It's been, I can't remember the decades that have gone by since I've actually had a Coors. It is a pro-business, anti-communist, but also advocates for cultural issues important to Christian conservatives and evangelicals, like the hatred of LGBTQ people, gay marriage. They don't want that. Okay, I don't know. There are other issues that I will go into at a future show from the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation, provides talking points to GOP politicians who just lack the smarts and imagination to come up with their own talking points. And Project 2025 is their doing. In fact, the guy that primarily was the author of Project 2025, and I can't remember his stupid GOP name, is in the cabinet, and I forget what his cabinet position is. Okay. Time check. Okay, I got time. All right, I will finish the show within 58 minutes, them allocated by Petaluma Community Access, kpca.fm. Okay, bad news. Under Wisconsin law, which was pushed by the GOP, in order for a transgender youth to change their name, they would have to publish their old, what they call their dead name, in a local newspaper for 3 weeks and publish their new name. Well, hopefully this cruel new GOP rule will get them teased and bullied and spread their notoriety in the local community. And truly, there are not really that many transgender youth. According to the Williams Institute, it's less than 0.8% of under 18s identify as transgender. But that won't stop the hateful, mean, and cruel Republican politicians for passing anti-trans laws. Just so everybody will know, especially voters, that I'm against trans. Okay. Okay, that was the bad news. Good news. Whew, finally. Oh, damn. And it says good news to end the show. Well, I've got another page here. I will come back to this. Okay. I'll get through this. Okay. Next item, which is a segment that I've been doing for about 4 shows now. Crazy Quora Questions. Now, Quora is a website online where you can send in questions, some serious, some not serious, and get a good answer. Questions usually about World War II or the Civil War, which general was better, and biblical questions, and questions about automotive subjects, which engine is best, what do you have to do to keep your Volvo running forever, things like that. But a lot of fundamentalist Christians send in Quora questions, usually crazy and biblically oriented. Okay, well, here's one. This is the question. And for these, I use my whiny voice. All right, here goes. Bear with me. When Jesus was resurrected after they crucified him, what happened to the dead that came out of the tomb and was seen in town by the people? Okay. The answer to this, and most of the answers were written by people that are really trying to answer the question and not be snarky. Sometimes they are, which I appreciate. I like snark. Okay. And sarcasm. Okay. The answer, and I'm not going to say who wrote this. And he's from Australia. The author of Matthew 27:52-53, in order to add drama, trying to disappear, then later, trying to disappear them, later adds to Jesus' unique importance to the phenomenon of resurrection. Fake. Okay, I wish all my listeners would read this book, Misquoting Jesus, by Bart Ehrman, Ehrman. It's been out for about 5 years, I think. And the Bible has been miscopied by scribes, mistranslated, both willfully and accidentally. And it's especially not inerrant, as some Christian cults claim. Okay, enough. Bad news. The Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bags administration's war on women continues with the defunding of WHI, the Women's Health Initiative. MAGAs don't want women to be healthy. We don't want to know what things and diseases they want to be cured. Okay. And it was defunded at 4 regional centers: University of Buffalo, New York, Wake Forest, Ohio State, and Stanford. How much did they save, quote unquote? $10 million. A Marigo golf outing for the Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bag cost taxpayers $3 million per trip. Has he been there more than 4 or 5 times? Oh yeah. So way more taxpayers' expense than this so-called savings by doing away with the Women's Health Initiative. Okay, gotta hurry. On last week's show, I called out RFK Wormbrain Jr., the Health and Human Services Secretary under the Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bag, on his ignorant, full of outright lies at his very first press conference. Here are the corrections and facts. Autism Spectrum Disorder is a condition, not a disease, related to brain development that impacts how a person perceives and socializes with others, causing problems with social interactions and their communication ability. It usually causes limited and repetitive patterns of behavior. The term spectrum in autistic spectrum disorder refers to the wide range, emphasis, wide range of symptoms and severity. Asperger's syndrome, childhood degenerative syndrome, is at the mild end of the spectrum, but it is no longer a term used. Autism spectrum disorder begins in early childhood, usually 18 to 24 months. It can be detected by pediatricians, 18 to 24 months of age. Each child has a unique pattern of behavior and level of severity. As they mature, some with Asperger's ASD become more engaged with others, and symptoms may decrease or decline. And this is from the Mayo Clinic, not the worm brain of RFK. Neurodivergence, which encompasses autism and ADHD, and I've tutored some ADHD students, is now the preferred term covering both conditions. A community has formed around these conditions, an identity, so to speak. Adults with ASD have developed social networks. Marriages have taken place. Causes of ASD are widely studied, but federal money may be cut off. Thank you, Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bag. Okay, suspected risk factors are advanced maternal age, some types of medications, not vaccines, and environmental pollutants, That may be one of the causes. Fact: wormbrain does not know crap about it. Okay, now I'm going back to the good news to end the show. Leaf Republic, which an innovative German company, introduced a game-changing, eco-friendly solution to plastic pollution. Plates and bowls made entirely from leaves, 100% biodegradable, waterproof, plastic and chemical-free, 2 layers of pressed leaves stitched together with palm fiber, no glue or synthetic additives, and it decomposes in less than 30 days. Wrong. It should have been clapping. Okay. Oh, I made it. It's 56 minutes. Here's my play out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Please pet your cats if you're lucky enough to have one. And think logically, think critically, think scientifically, and you won't ever become religious. All right, I will see you again next week and with another rant, and I will post the subject on my Facebook page.